Well, hi, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be looking at hacking into a Linux machine. I'm not too sure that much about this machine. All I know is that it's running a web app because I have already run an Nmap scan. Now, point to note on this, I'm already resorting back to going onto Kali Linux. On my last video, I was using a Linux operating system called Pop! OS because I was thinking about putting it on my new laptop. That wasn't a great success, if I'm honest. And I'm looking at Pure OS. I've looked at Fedora, and they're not exactly fitting just right. So I'm still looking out there. I'm gonna give Fedora another go by putting some of the hacking tools that I use on that operating system, and perhaps I'll do that in another video. But right now, I just kind of want to get back into it. I've got a bit of study time whilst looking after my son who's napping next door, and there may be some editing as I go back and forth, but here we go. So as I mentioned, I wanted to go slow on this. So the first step you always want to do is your footprinting and reconnaissance. And having a look at this system, I've run an Nmap scan here, and this Nmap scan is telling me that that I basically asked it to do a -pn, which means no ping, so don't use ICMP requests as they're sometimes blocked. SV, show versions, that fills in this field here, so the version of the protocol that's been spotted. -A is aggressive enumeration, or all enumeration, as some people call it. And what it's doing is it's using the safe scripts that are built into the NSE framework. Again, more on that later. -T5 is insane mode. This is the fastest methods on threading. Please note, if you use -T5 with -SS for SYN-scan, you can take down networks, so be careful with that. -P- is look at all ports. Without the -P-, it would do the top 1,000 popular ports. Note that isn't port 1 to 1,000, it's the most popular port. So for example, 3389 would be included in that for RDP. So going down here, we've got SSH. It's telling me that it's running Ubuntu Linux and Open SSH 8.2. And we also have down here an Apache server running, which is running 2.4.4.1 on Ubuntu. So I'm taking this information that it's probably most likely using Linux, and it's telling me here service info, it's using a Linux kernel. So let's take some notes. So Apache 2.4.1, and because I've done -P-, I'm fairly sure that it's doing nothing else other than running an Apache server. So a web server. So I've then clicked on this, and this is the website. So I'm having a little bit of a click around, making sure what it's doing. I'm not entirely sure. So about patients, none of these links actually work. So this tells me that this is a web server potentially in progress. So just look at the robots.txt file, nothing found there. Again, it's given us a bit of a banner there, telling us the same information it was telling us earlier. So Nmap's got something right at least. So what we'll do is we're going to navigate to some tools here, and what we'll do is we'll do a directory enumeration and see what's running. If I can type. Oh yeah, I named it differently on this one. I'm so used to jumping on different operating systems now, it's going to take me a little bit of a moment to get my head in the game. My goodness, right. dir search, and then you need to do sudo -free dir search, and I'm just going to remind myself of the IP address 242. I'm always very nervous when I'm typing my password with my camera up there. You can see my keyboard, so I'll be looking for that in the editing. Okay. So whilst we're doing that, I'll start Burp Suite as well, because that's always really useful. You'll note that I won't be using my professional version because that's my work one, which I think I've mentioned on one of my other videos previously. Okay. Now whilst we're doing that, I'll go back onto this and I'll look at the source and see if there's any notes or anything like that in there. And I'll probably use Nikto as well to give me some more information, and maybe there's something on that as well. Okay, and nothing's really jumping out on me at this point. Coming to the end of this, no, nothing there potentially that worries me. Let's see if we can run Nikto as well. Right. Don't just hate it when all these pop-ups just take over your entire screen. It's so annoying. Right. Okay. So this might take a while and this is still running. So I'll stop the video here for a second and we'll look at the results in a bit. Okay, I'm back. Got the baby monitor, keeping an eye on things, and we're going to see what results we got back from all the different scans. So no massive surprises really. We've found a login directory, but when you actually type that in, it just seems to go back to the same page. However, I also looked at this plugin called Web Analyzer. There's multiple different types on here, and it's given us a PHP version of 8.1.0, so we can add that to our data. PHP 8.1.0. I have also gone through different elements on here, and I can't really see anything of any particular use that's come through. However, we ran Nikto as well, so we can have a look at that. Clickjacking. I'm not sure read it line by line. Yep, so that's found the same. Well, that's interesting. So this has given us a dev version of the PHP. So let's put that in there and we can look at search exploit. Okay, right. So it's now time to use search exploit. Search exploit. We probably need to update this because I haven't used this for a while. I think it's U. Yeah, it's -U. So we're just going to update this for a second. I don't know how long it's going to take. Please subscribe. And this shouldn't take too long. Okay. Let's. So no, we'll start here and work our way up and see what Google gives us. No, let's do it properly. Top down. We'll do the top down approach and see what happens. Apache. Right, throw that in Google. This is still downloading. Okay, what we got here? rewrite. Still loading. Fine, we'll keep searching. And this is what we do, it's about researching, Googling, finding out what's going on. So there has to be something wrong with the website, really, because that's the only attack vector. It's not going to be SSH or shell shock or anything like that. There's no private key on show. So this is definitely the right path we're on. Let's see what this has come back with. Oh, okay, so this is not actually. No, that's not what we're looking for. Well, that's interesting. Exploit database 8.1.0.dev, and that is what I was about to Google next, because that's actually what was found via Nikto, although that's what was provided by the plugin. Okay, well this looks really interesting. When it wants to load, let's close this. Remote code execution. This looks very positive. So I might go away and read that, but this. Well, okay. Well, they've got the exploit code right here, so I shall copy that. Let's let's call it PHP exploit or something .py, because it was a Python file. Okay. See, look, yeah, this was really outdated. This is why I tend to keep this up to date and then go to the website as well, typically, although sometimes I do that off camera, because it's obviously not very interesting, but I did say I was going to go through this step by step and not do any editing. Control Shift T, let's get another tab up. ls PHP exploit. Okay, it's there, and we should 700 PHP exploit Python 3. Enter the URL host http 10.10.10. Completely forgotten in my excitement. 242. Checking the baby monitor. Interactive shell. No. Surely not. Wow, okay. That's a fairly good script. I just wanted to test it out and see if that was actually working. Right. Well, okay then. That was easy. We seem to have access to this machine. ls. Oh, typo. Okay, right, so we've now got UX.txt folder. I'm not going to do that now because I want to put any spoilers out on the internet. Let's see, what else have we got here? So we are James. Let's see who other users we have on this system. Cat etc/passwd. Okay, so we have, we don't have read access, I'll check in a second to this. So all the different user accounts are on the left hand side. This is what I'm looking at, is basically we have the username, and then if you look, the number next to it will denote, so for example, if it's 1,000, that tells me that it's a user account. And then at the top, 00, that's root. And then no login means you cannot log in remotely on this. So we could potentially, if it's running SSH, we could log SSH in on James from that. If I then type in ls -al/etc/passwd, that wrong command, sorry, sorry, etc/passwd. I was expecting it to tell me what kind of access I had. Let's try that again. ls-l/etc/passwd. There we go. I don't know why it didn't do this up here. That really confused me. So we do not have write access, so we can't add a password in there. I'm going to double check. ls-al/etc/shadow. This is where it would have, so we can't even actually access this. Fine. So at which point I'm now going to look at the sudo file and see what we can access here. Root pass, we can use a file called knife apparently. I have literally no idea what that is, so I'm probably gonna have to go away and Google, and you can be there along for the ride. That's why it's a typo. That's why it didn't work. ls-al. So that is actually here. That's quite interesting. Okay, and we've got full right to execute it as well. Okay. Whoops. cd. That's frustrating. I don't need to navigate that, I need to run it. So, you know, why don't we just look up what knife is, shall we? Let's start there. Let's just paste this in to see what. Chef workstation knife. Literally no idea what this is at all. I don't know, I'm looking at my OBS over there. I should look at the camera at the top. Set up chef workstation. So we can run it as root. So the thing, what I'm thinking about in my mind's eye right now is that maybe we can use this to run other code, or we potentially change something. Is there a cron job that's running? But really what you need to understand first is, what is this tool? So it's called knife, or by the looks of it, it's called chef. Configure Ruby environment. Okay. So knife client list. So you run knife and then you run some code or something. Okay, interesting. So I probably should look up chef rather than the full thing. And sometimes I watch YouTube videos going through this, but with this kind of lag, I'm not going to be doing that whilst streaming, because that's not going to work in a million years. someone has history of typing in knife exec. Okay, let's have a look. This looks promising. So I think I was right initially that you get this to run as sudo because we're allowed to use it, and then you exec something like maybe netcat, or I don't know. It was mentioning Ruby in the last one. Knife exec subcommand executes Ruby scripts. Okay, so I'm thinking create a one-liner Ruby at this point. Knife exec script -- exec. Okay, so touch -tmp/test. This is obviously just a web shell, isn't it? Which is why it's ls. I'm being an idiot. Yeah, it is there. Okay, fine. I'm thinking I need to create a Ruby reverse shell. So that's going to be another Google, I think. I don't think I've got one in here. Another thing to add to the list, perhaps. MSF Venom, PowerShell, Python, PHP, no, Ruby. So we'll try this to start off with. And then we'll try it with a proper actual script rather than a one-liner. If config 10.10.16.251. So we're changing the IP address here. 10.10.16.251. So this is my IP address. 443 and okay, fine. We'll then set a listener, so sudo netcat 443. Okay, just do a little bit of tidying up. Right, echo into /temp/test dot. I'll have to then rename it probably to RB. No input file specified. Okay, let's try this again. Touch test.rb. Okay. And then we're going to try that again. No input file specified. I'm very, very confused. They're all here. Cat test dot RB. Oh, my son might be waking up in a second, so I may have to do a bit of editing. There might be a way. There must be an easy way of doing this. Let's. Is netcat installed? Netcat-h. Netcat is not installed. I'm thinking maybe it'd be easier to rather have it in a web shell to actually is ls minus al tilde ls minus al space. I'm thinking is SSH is there maybe which is hidden by the way. Okay, cat slash tilde. Oh, my son's waking up, you probably can hear it on the microphone. I don't have much time. .ssh id underscore rsa. And is this the key? We now have a key. Okay, I'm gonna try an SSH, but first need to get my son. Okay, I am now back. So, before I was going to run around the house, I obviously we found this SSH key. So this is the private key. So with the correct permission set, we should be able to remote in as James, who was the name of the user, without needing to put in the password. He says. So let's copy this. We'll let's see. So the problem with copying things like that is that copy and paste sometimes changes some of the formatting. Fingers crossed, shall we? Right, save. And we're going to save that as, I don't know, id.rsa, whatever. Let's just save as what it was called on that system, but on ours, we'll move away from that for the time being. Chmod 600 key. Obviously I've done this last time for something else. I now need to remember the command ssh dash id.rsa James at 10.10.10.242. Let's double check that. Not unlike 242, that's fine. Oh, it wants the password still. Oh no, that's annoying. I did something wrong, obviously. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since we last did some recording, and I left it off with the SSH, and after about 40 minutes of trying getting that to work, trying to do some parenting on the side, I left it. So a couple of other things have changed as well. I've got my Joe 90 glasses on, and what I'm looking to do is just to continue on from where we left off. So we've got a web shell working on the machine, so we could do remote code execution. Rather than messing around with the SSH key anymore, my plan is to upload a Ruby shell, because if we look at the knife syntax, so if we do knife exec script from what we found earlier, if I just upload a Ruby script via a simple HTTP server, hopefully we will be able to get a remote shell. So having a bit of a Google around, I have found this remote shell here that I'm just editing. So if I change this to the remote host of the machine, that will be my local IP address, and let's just do port, I don't know, 53 for example. This should then remote back to my machine. So if I just save this now, he says, so we'll do rubysploit.rb, I'm just calling it something random. And now if we upload this to that machine, let's see now what we need to do that. So I need to set up a local, I keep filling with my glasses, sorry, they're new, I'm not used to having something on my face. So if we, for example, do Python 3, there we go, there's one I made earlier. Oh, yeah, that should work. And I type in curl http my local IP address colon 8000, which is the port of the web server that I'm hosting, slash, I'm pretty sure we called it that, and we want this to go into the temp slash, we could just output like this, there we go, temp slash exploit.rb, just to see if it works. I think that should work. That didn't look particularly positive. Yeah, it 200, which was a success error there, so it was just much quicker than what I expected. I'm guessing that has completed. So let's now just list the, and what have we got in here? Exploit.rb. Okay, as you can see, I have had to delay it a little bit again and do some editing because the battery died, because we had some issues with the laptop. I can't wait for a new one, but we've now uploaded the exploit, so I'm now just going to run this using the information that we found from our Googling of the knife exec and then the script option. So if we move forward with that, it is sudo, because we want to run it as root so we can escalate our privileges to root. It is then knife. I'm really always hesitant that I'm on mute or I'm not recording the video. Exec. Then it's going to be slash temp slash exploit.rb, and that's what I named it here, look, which is the script that I got online, which is the Ruby reverse shell. And this was going to my listener that I set up earlier, which is on 53. That's really positive. And if I go to my other shell with the listener, we are connected. If I type who am I'm root. So now privilege escalation on that. So if I ls and go ls minus al slash root, and we can then see in here we have the root.txt file, and we now have root on this machine. That's all we have for today. Apologies for the weird editing with the different lighting, but it's taken me a good couple of days to get this video out there. Again, we've gone a bit slow time on this, and this one was a bit more easier, but we're going to again go a little bit more deeper as each video goes along. But I was quite keen to keep these videos a bit shorter than the 1 hour they've previously been, so there's going to be a little bit more editing as we go along. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next Wednesday. Thanks, bye.